I'm Paige Sawin. I'm the VP of Strategic Partnerships at DSG. And I have with me...
I'm Mike Gatos. I'm the VP of Business Development at DSG.
I love your swag, your DSG swag.
And it falls upon us in Pennsylvania, right? We're really feeling it. Like I really needed it. I was like, it's cold in here. It was 80 degrees last week, but no longer.
I love it. I have a pump. You don't see this, but I have a white vanilla pumpkin candle lit. I'm feeling it. I don't have the beanie on, but maybe that's a future episode. And also I needed to brand this, it's important. We're going to have the logo.
I have a question for you. I have a couple of questions. And
I'm ready. I'm ready for your questions, Mike.
And I'm going to throw you some curveballs, and you're going to have to think about them and be honest. I want you to be completely honest. And they may seem like they're out of left field, but they are not out of left field.
I really enjoy obscure questions, so go for it.
Well, I'm getting into it. Here we go. So first question is, do you have an alter ego? Number one. And if you don't have an alter ego, what would your alter ego be? And I'll give you an example. For me, I don't have an alter ego. I do a lot of different random stuff, but the one thing I think I would like to be is a very confident carpenter. Like, oh, I can fix that. Or like, I can make that out of wood. I think that would be pretty cool. My alter ego would be that, confident carpenter.
Okay. Might I say that I bet if you tried, your wood making skills would be awesome. Cause like you are involved with a ton of things. Like every weekend you go clamming and fishing, and then you tell me about this delicious food that your family makes. And I'm literally like, I just survived with my toddler. But I feel like if you took like one woodworking class, like the next weekend, you'd literally be like, here's a coffee table for you, Paige. So alter ego, I think that's a really interesting question. So I think for me, like I've kind of lived my alter ego life. I did theater for a long time, and I was singing in a band, and I did a cappella for a bit, and this is like pre-advertising marketing life. So I would say that person still lives inside of me. And maybe this is sort of the calling. Our partner series vlog is the calling.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like Professor Sidique in any means. I mean, I feel like I need to come up with something way cooler.
Interesting you mentioned and keeping Professor Sidique, our good friend Mo Sidique, from Yelp.
Yes.
Keeping him in mind, I think you may find a little bit of a string of Mo related questions here. But
good.
My next question is, knowing who you are now, you're a leader in your own business. Who would you hire your alter ego?
No. No, absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. Like in my past life, I was a casting director, and I love actors. And I was part of this culture. They're just a different breed. I mean, I worked as an administrator as one of my first professional jobs ever. And I was the worst administrator because all I wanted to do was theater. All I wanted to do was act. I wanted to go to rehearsal and have kind of that unstructured life. And like the dependability is there when it comes to the passion. But like I've worked with enough actors, and I would know myself being an actor too, that I would just not show up for work sometimes.
I need the morning off. I need the evening off.
I do say I would want to work with actors, obviously, on content, because they're like the best. They're super creative, and they're really like. It's like the structured versus the unstructured, right?
And that's a good point. I mean, you always take things from your past life or your strengths or what you can do to make and enhance your current situation and make it better, become a better leader, become a better business person. And I like that. It's maybe I wouldn't hire myself, but
And also, like, it's so hard to toot your own horn too. Like, but you know who I would absolutely hire, like right out of college after our conversation, is Mo.
Well, I do think Mo is an interesting guy where he draws on a lot of different life experience, right? And always fascinating to talk to this guy because
Oh, I
he
know.
kind of lives his alter egos and takes what he wants from his alter egos and says, this is a really quality thing that I've tried, thing that I've pulled together. And
Yeah.
he's always got some interesting story to push us forward. And I agree with you, would hire him in a second.
One of my favorite things that he had said in our interview is that he's like, yeah, I had this opportunity to just make mistakes and I did. And he stated that in such a confident way.
Yep.
I remember being a young kid right out of college and just being so afraid of making
So
those
scared.
mistakes.
Yeah. So scared of what's to come.
Like,
But
it almost paralyzes you. And Mo, I think, first of all, he's like just an excellent person. And of
human
course,
being,
he would be
good
one of
human
those
being.
types of people to just kind of jump in with both feet.
Yeah.
But as part of Yelp and DSG's partnership, like, I can't imagine it without him.
No,
Agree.
agree.
And it's just been so fruitful. And I think
Yeah.
our team has matched his
Yeah.
passion for the platform, for the campaigns,
Yep.
for the creativity. And that's why, you know, I had asked him to do this interview because, especially since this is one of our first ones, I think this is like, you know, the perfect guy to dive in on those things.
Okay. 2 more questions.
Okay.
This one's easy. This is a yes or no. And now that you've brought up Mo, you can answer for Mo's alter egos as well. Okay. So we know he has many. Professor Sidique. He has son Sidique, a suave enjoyer of the nightlife. Would you accept a restaurant recommendation from your alter ego?
Yes, I totally would.
You wouldn't hire them, but you'd accept a restaurant recommendation.
Yes. No, I wouldn't. Okay. So I say I wouldn't hire them. That's so harsh. I would hire them for the right project. Like, I would hire them not to be like an administrator or like do structured work. I would hire them to be like, you have no schedule, just create content. I think that my alter ego, I kind of view as much cooler than myself. So yeah, I would totally get a restaurant recommendation, and I would believe their Yelp review.
And obviously, for Mo and his many alter egos, I would trust every single one of his alter egos in the restaurant recommendation any day. Not only because he works for Yelp, but he cares. He does. He brings that enthusiasm from all those different things into his life. And, okay, last question.
Okay.
Very, 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 very tough question for you. Dig deep on this one. What's the hardest thing you've done in the last month? And would it have been hard for your alter ego to do that same thing?
That's a really good question. The hardest thing that I've done, I think, so my automatic mind is when you and I took a trip to LA in like 2 days. But I honestly think like that my alter ego would be like, I'm game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you're harnessing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally worth that. She's bubbling to the surface.
That's good.
Like in all honesty, we went through a pretty rigorous like coaching discussion with each of our team members.
Yeah.
And I think my alter ego is ultimately more of like a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been difficult to be direct and kind of live from that like coaching lens.
Right.
Because that comes, it's like so specific to our business and our business structure, and also just having some experience, like experience in agency, and also experiencing being that terrible administrator in my 20s too. So I think that would have been very difficult. I think like thinking back on my past, I'm like, oh man, that would have been really challenging for that person. So yeah, I think that's probably what it would have been.
many times we encounter these things that we think are very tough at the time. We think, God, this is just going to drive me crazy. It's going to bring me anxiety. I need to do something about this.
Yes.
But if you focus on what your alter ego would do, maybe the answer is right there. Maybe it's just thinking about it a different way. And, I having heard your discussion with Mo, there's a lot of great themes that come out. One is different ways you address challenges, different ways you approach the day. And I thought you guys both did an excellent job at kind of, talking through that. So I want to get into it because your chat was really totally illuminating. There was some great stuff in there. So won't delay us anymore. Let's get into it. Let's bring on Mo.
Yeah. Awesome, Mike. I love how you did that. That was great. But yes, I completely agree. Speaking with Mo was really awesome. He's such a down to earth person and just an interesting person. And Yelp's been an amazing partner to us. So, I mean, this whole entire conversation was so valuable because their partnership's really valuable. So
agree.
All right. Without further ado, here is Mo, our partner sales director at Yelp. Hi, thank you so much, Mo, for joining us today. We're so happy for you to be here. I am joined by Mo Sidique. He is the partner sales director at Yelp. Mo, I was trying to rack my brain for how long we've been working together. It feels like over 10 years, which is a good thing. But I feel like, has it been 4? Has it been 4?
I think we're approaching 4 years now, but
Okay.
I completely agree with you it feels like we've been working together for like 10, 20 years. So
I know. Let's keep the good thing rolling. So Yelp and DSG, we are in something called the partnership channel. Mo, I'm sure you can explain it better than I can. But before we get into those details, obviously Yelp is known as an international platform. I think everyone has at least the app on their phone or has been in Yelp to search for a restaurant within their area, or maybe when they're on a fabulous vacation. But in your own words, could you explain what Yelp is, what it does? We would love to hear that from you.
Yeah. And just like in my own words, I remember when I first started working at Yelp and I thought, hey, Yelp is like a platform where you look at restaurants. And previously working with marketing and jumping into like actually working at Yelp, I then realized like the proper term is Yelp is actually a business directory. So if you're looking for a specific local type of business, a physical location or service-based industry, and you're trying to find a specific place to go to or make that decision, Yelp is the place to go. So
I think that's an excellent, and yes, you actually did explain it better than I could. So that's awesome. That's so great. And I think when you talk about like it being a business directory, that speaks volumes to DSG because like our legacy business is in the print directories. So for us to make the transition into digital, which we've done over the last decade, it makes really good sense for us as an agency to partner with such a powerful business directory like the Yelp platform. So I know a while back we did a specific webinar. It was called Be Chosen and Be Found, which I'll actually link in this video. So those that are watching can review that. I know that there are a ton of services that a business owner can take advantage of on Yelp in terms of their marketing. But if you could outline maybe some of your favorites or ones that really reap some benefits for business owners, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and just to go back on what you were saying with being chosen and being found, that's the ideals that, especially when I work with agencies like DSG, that we always try to hone in when we're talking to business in the first place. And just to speak about just being chosen, that's like the profile products that we have and that can help your business get chosen, such as the enhanced profiles, the business highlights, the verified license. So my favorite specifically is the portfolios. And the reason why is because it's a way, just like on the ad level to even show specific jobs, or you can actually be very creative. Let's say if you're a hairstylist, you can show, I don't have any hair, but it's fine.
Well,
but but if you do have hair, you can actually show different, styles that you do. It can be a painter; they can show different jobs that they do. Someone in the home service area, even lawyers, they can have like little excerpts or little space where they can talk about jobs that they've done, court cases that they've won. That I really like the portfolio, because not only does it have like images, but you can actually have a little text that you can just summarize like what those jobs are, to be able to explain to pretty much the customers, the end user, specifically what your business do and how you can interact with them that way, how you can help them.
Yes, I totally agree about the portfolio, Mo. When I talk to our clients or prospective customers, I talk about how the portfolio is like kind of the like Pinteresty type app of the page, and it's a lot of visual. You want to make sure you have beautiful photography, kind of explaining your products. And it's definitely a highlight of the profile page for sure. Especially to your point, like if you are a plumber, you can show specific projects and solutions that you've brought to your customers. And if you have hair, a stylist or a salon can showcase yeah, can showcase some of the balayage and other services that they offer. Absolutely. What other products would you say are kind of like, portfolio is an awesome one? What other ones would you say should be considered?
Yeah, and right off the back, I think that every business on Yelp that choose to like interact, or like when businesses choose to interact with Yelp, the first thing that I always look at is the enhanced profile. And at Yelp, we bundle that with the business highlights. But what the enhanced profile does is that it actually allows you to do several different things. One is remove competitor ads. Everyone can receive a free profile with Yelp, where you actually receive leads, and it helps you like reach that community, that local community. But on the flip side, let's say if you choose to advertise, people that advertise can actually advertise on your page. And the reason why is, if you're not able to reach them, or if that business doesn't interact with Yelp, we like to give other options for people to go to. Now, with having the enhanced profile, we actually remove the competitor ads on your page. And the next thing that we're able to do is that we're actually able to make the page look like your website. For example, if you want to invest a lot into your website with photos, just every information that you would want customers to be able to reach you, we can actually help you convert that on the Yelp page before you even get to the website. And I think that's one of the reasons why an enhanced profile is very important. So it can, remove competitor ads, control the order of the photos. So you put your best pictures up, your best light forward, and be able to show the customers specifically who you are, and then you could direct them where you want them to go.
That's great, Mo. I always say to folks about the enhanced profile that you have to think about your Yelp profile as a separate website. I think you coined that. That a lot of times customers will come from Yelp or go to Yelp even before their website. And isn't the statistic like 90-something% of people searching on Yelp don't have a brand in mind? They do unbranded searches. So the likelihood of them just finding that specific brand before they go to a website is very, very high.
Yeah, and just through so prior to Yelp, I did work a lot in marketing, and one of the biggest space, or one of the biggest areas that we try to tackle, was reaching people that were undecided into who they wanted to choose. There's some big brands out there, and they do an amazing job of marketing on the local front. So that's why there are people that know their name. But when people make searches on Yelp, most of the searches are undecided. So let's say I'm not looking for a specific plumber. I'm just looking for a plumber. I'm not looking for a specific restaurant to go to. I'm just looking for, like, let's say maybe Thai food. That's one of my favorite. Let's say if I need a lawyer, I don't know a specific lawyer to go to. I'm just looking for, like personal injury law. And from there, I think within the categories, it's usually 90+%, like over 95, usually across like all boards of our categories, where people that are searching don't necessarily have a decision yet that they're making. And then that's why they're going on Yelp, to make that purchasing decision. So they can basically review and get that image that and the direction that you can, where you as the business owner can now show them and say, hey, look, I'm the reason you should choose me because of A, B, C, and D. And then those are the page upgrades.
Yes. On our side, Mo, DSG calls that like the activation or optimization of your profile page in tandem to use the enhanced profile product. And to that point, like me personally, if I'm going to like a services, if I'm looking for, we'll stay with the stylist. If I'm looking for a stylist, which, I had moved a couple of years ago to where I am in Malvern, Pennsylvania, I needed a new stylist. And the first place I went to on Yelp, and I have to say, like those businesses that had a full enhanced profile, that had reviews, that had engagement, that had the portfolio, I can see that they're really involved in their business. And that's like innately what I'm more attractive to. And I believe other customers are too, compared to a page that's like sadly unclaimed, which by the way, DSG can help businesses with. Or even as not as like going as far as like taking off their competitors, because that's another point in which I could have jumped off and seen like more stylists in my area. So that just pushes that whole factor that you can treat the Yelp page as a separate website. And you guys have all these different categories and like business descriptions and things that you can take advantage of as a business owner that's just going to drive more traffic to your business.
No, I completely agree with you. And then I think this might be like a good segue later on too. But for me, I tend to travel a lot, and I've been moving a lot in the past like 2-3 years. And it's nothing better than, like, for me, I don't like, okay, I do get my beard shaped up, but there's certain things I do like, and if I move into a community, I love running. So usually I just like wake up every morning and I'll like run and pretty much just try to understand the community a little bit more. But there's nothing better than, like, just like for me, since I work at Yelp now, I know I'll open the app and I'll look up like, okay, where's the grocery store? Where's the dentist? Where's the hospital? Just so I can know the community that I'm moving into. And like from that, I'll usually just like bookmark and then have like, something that says Miami, bookmark everything that I need in those areas. So if anybody has like, if anyone's visiting, I'll just usually send that over to them. So it makes it a lot easier for me to understand my community as well too.
So Mo, that segues into a different, like, let's change gears a little bit. So I wanted to ask you, obviously the audience kind of can tell that you and I have been working together for a while. DSG and Yelp has a very strong relationship in what we kind of call internal terms, the partnership channel at Yelp. So from your perspective, how does a Yelp and an agency working together, how is that beneficial from an agency Yelp partnership as well as beneficial for a client?
Yeah. So firstly, I just want to start with talking about the relationship with the client and the agency, and then jump into basically the agency and Yelp. Obviously, oftentimes with agencies, they understand their client the best. They know them, and then they know some of the pain points, and at the same time, some of the areas where they want to improve. They know what a valuable lead is for that client, and they know specifically, some of the leads that they receive where it might not be like the best value, or like where to focus the energy. Being that the agencies understand that best, and they understand marketing, the relationship the agency has with Yelp is a little bit different because it's my job, like as the partner sales director, and then we have other roles within the partner organization when we have a representative to the agency to be able to explain from the Yelp side of things just how things work. We've been adding many tools within the partner program and the organization as a whole. And as we're doing that, usually our agencies, like the first to pretty much understand how it works, how to basically utilize those strategies to be able to help the client in the end run, in the end goal. And basically what we tend to do with agencies is not only with educating agencies, but sometimes we learn from our agencies. Basically best ways to work with clients or certain things that clients are looking for. And truthfully, it is a partnership where we're working with the agencies and they're working with us as well too. So
I would say it's a really, really trusting partnership too. And I couldn't agree with you more, Mo. I mean, before you and I started our partnership, I think we were kind of in the dark on Yelp's capabilities. We knew it was a very good lead generator, but I think you guys have adapted, over the last decade in being what you call the like an online business directory. Like it's fantastic for that. It's not just about reviews. It's not just about restaurants, right? Like there's so many other services that you can look for on Yelp. But from our standpoint, I think working with you really had got us to another echelon of understanding your product. And therefore, we can bring that knowledge to our clients and think very strategically about not only the spend, but the categories in which they're chosen, what Yelp services and products are going to work for their business specifically. And not only from that like business vertical standpoint, but from their geography as well. Like we always talk about, okay, how much traffic is actually available? Where is the client in terms of their share of voice on Yelp? So there's a lot of things that DSG and Yelp talk about in order to elevate a customer's campaign on the platform. And that's where I have honestly seen such benefit over the last couple of years. So Mo, I think that you had brought up DSG being very family oriented and kind of bringing its unique voice in that way to, I guess, being marketers and advertisers and the Yelp relationship. So I am going to put you on the spot a little bit. So we talked kind of general agencies, but what do you think DSG and Mo Sidique brings to Yelp for our customers?
Yeah, I think one of the things that, like, in terms of just like working with DSG and like myself, is that like you're gonna get a team that is gonna be like relentless in terms of just getting an answer for you, and whether sometimes that answer is not everything not exactly what you want. It's like something where we're gonna work at to be able to get the best results for you in terms of just like the Yelp side of things. And on the flip side, it's like you're going to have a team that is going to go above and beyond to be able to like provide results. Like generally, I know there have been plenty of times where it's been after hours, and then they're like, hey, we need something done. And then for me, being that like my relationship with DSG, like there's times that I don't mind doing that, because at the same time, like I know how much they care about their clients, and at the same time, I know how far they're willing to go to be able to help their clients. There's times where we've talked to clients, and then we're saying like, hey, you know what? Now might not be the best time for you to advertise based on the season, but this should be the time you should like crank things up, or let's go a little bit slower this month in terms of budget, and let's be very top heavy to generate a lot of revenue, and take that risk. Because I remember there were one time where an example with one of the companies that we work with, we were like, hey, let's move some of the budget later on in the year in the beginning, because based upon what we're seeing on our end, we believe that they can generate great results. After 2 months, I believe they generated like 4 or 5 times more leads than they've ever done before, and led to them like reinvesting more budget for like years to come. So
Mo, that's a great story. I totally remember that. And it wasn't like we were like surprised, because we knew how powerful Yelp was for this specific client. But you and our team really worked fast. And this is what we do for all of our clients, is that we keep a pulse on things. And as things change, which they do, the market always changes, especially in the digital space. But we like to be able to think strategically always, and put our best foot forward always on behalf of the client. And sometimes that just means, hey, we got to pause the campaign right now. It just doesn't make sense for you to run anything. And then we'll bolster their enhanced profile and like focus more on the organic side of things.
And I think just to go back, but sorry to interrupt, but just to go back, I think one of the biggest thing we have in common is the customer always comes first. The end customer always comes first. When we're working with clients, there's times where we're like, hey, like you should be spending because of just the results that you're getting organically. And then there are times where we go to a customer and say, hey, it might not be the best choice for you to advertise right now based upon, just like the amount that you're trying to spend won't, be sufficient enough to generate the results that you're looking for. So I think that's one thing. We're always like very transparent with the clients, but I think that's definitely an area where
yeah, absolutely. My latest example of our great working relationship, Mo, is when we had started a campaign for a client that had never really invested in Yelp, and they were a multi-location client. And we had recommended that they just keep the lights on and invest in CPC on top of the EPs. And a lot of times, a lot of folks or business owners think like, oh, I'm going to stop and start the campaign whenever I want. And in the case of this client, we had recommended just like always have that baseline. And what we had found over I think 2 years of them doing this, we had found that they were highly competitive in their CPC costs. I think they were like at $4 or something like that, compared to like their competitors, which were like $16 to $20. And that's like very specific to that client, that business vertical, that geography. But those are the types of recommendations that we talk about, that we dig into on behalf of the client and can make a case. And when we see the results, it's so exciting, especially when we actually share it with the client and they get excited too about how actually competitive they are in the space. Yeah. So thank you so much for tooting DSG's horn, Mo. I really appreciate it. We obviously love working with you. So I wanted to get a little bit more into the personal. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about your background, which is so funny. I feel like we've kind of talked about this, but we've known each other for so long. I don't think I actually could tell your story. So we wanted to hear it on the Partner Spotlight series. And then if you could tell us career-wise, how did you start out and how did you find yourself at Yelp and NYC?
Yeah, so it all started a long time ago when I was born. I know I was a great marketer when I was born, right away.
It was a full moon, and your parents said he will be in marketing.
Well, before they raised me up like this, and then they're like, marketing professor. You call me a professor that young, so my journey. So I went to school, Brandeis University in Boston, and when I graduated, I did not know what I wanted to do. So I jumped into what any money hungry first graduate who wants to do it. So I jumped into sales just to get a hang of it, and then at the same time to just to talk to local businesses, because for some reason, I always felt connected to SMBs, local businesses is always something big for me. So I knew I wanted to do something around that. But my first sales job was in credit card processing. I realized I did not like that industry or what I was doing very much. Pretty much like day two. No.
I believe it.
It was like first year. Yeah, but after the first year, I was like, you know what, this is not for me. But something interesting kept happening. They always talked about, like in our company meetings, they always talked about leads, how things work. And I didn't know why, but I always brought like a notebook, which I still do today, or like a notepad and a pen. But basically, with that, I was just like taking notes. They were saying like, yeah, these leads are very precious. They cost us about $100 like a lead. And then the next month, they're like, these leads are precious. They cost us about $140 a lead. I'm like, oh,
and then like the next month, up a little bit. Yeah.
It was going up. But then it was just like, for me, feeling it on that end was very interesting, because what it allowed me to realize was for businesses, leads were something that were like very important. And then it was how you handle the lead, just like from the sales side, was very important for us. So I understood it on that part in terms of receiving leads, but I knew nothing else. So I did some research, and I had a friend of mine who worked at this like marketing agency type of like a software company, and they were like they were like a premier partner with like a lot of platforms. And I went for an interview, and I was like, hey, I don't know anything, but I know how to learn. And I told them I'm a good learner. And then, like, great thing, I learned through mistakes. So I figure out how to make every mistake possible. That way, the moment I made the last mistake, you have like pretty much you're set. I could walk through like any hoops or like fix any problem that we run into. So working there, I learned a lot about the background of like digital marketing, the sales side, and I work with the international team where I actually was able to go overseas and interact with other agencies. So being that it was like a software platform and a marketing agency, not only did I have to like know about like the platform itself and just like how other platforms work in terms of search engines, I actually had to know about agencies and how they interacted with our platform and how they interacted with those other search engines. So that gave me like a big, like, it was kind of like a master class. So I was able to learn a lot, and I loved it. It was a great job, but Boston was not the city for me, because I felt like I've outgrown Boston, being that I was there for college and I lived there a little bit after. So I moved to New York because I'm originally from New York, Harlem. Shout out to Harlem every day. Actually, shout out to Sierra Leone as well too. That's where my family's from. So I moved to New York, I didn't have a job, but I just wanted to just like have like a little bit of a fresh start. And it was kind of like hey, trust in myself that I was making the right decision moving to New York. And right when I was about to accept like another job, I believe like the recruiter from Yelp reached out to me, and we had a conversation, and she basically said like, don't take that job. This is literally like the perfect job for you. So I was like, well, let me go through the interview. So I'm like rushing. So they're speeding up the interview. I spoke to my manager at the time, who was like, ended up being like one of like my best friends. I think like that's the thing about the organization, and then especially with the partner program, the people in our org are like truly like not just like my teammates.
Oh, I can absolutely tell that. Absolutely. I feel like, yes.
Yeah, I think you got to meet Kajal, and then you got to meet Kajal. You met like Mark, Kelly, and then
for those listening, there's, I mean, there's so many amazing people that work over at Yelp, and we have been lucky enough to not only work with one of the most amazing people, Mo, but he has an awesome team that backs him up. And we had just met one of his other team members in New York this past week, and so we feel really lucky and fully supported by all of y'all's team, really. But I don't want to interrupt you. So you found your people.
Yeah, so pretty much like after the interview, it was pretty funny because right when they were about to walk me out the elevator, I was like, "So I'm starting tomorrow, right?"
Yeah.
Like, after the interview, I was like, "Yeah, I crushed it," but I'm just saying, I can start tomorrow if you need me to, because this is exactly. It felt like a perfect match in terms of just like my knowledge into the agency world and how they interacted with their clients, and at the same time bridging that gap and being able to explain that to just like the Yelp partner team, and then having that gap to just like that bridge, building that bridge. I think that's pretty much what the partner program has done. Is basically build a bridge so that agencies can like interact with Yelp in a way where they haven't before,
Oh,
especially in
yeah.
that SMB space. So basically, like, yeah, right at the elevator, I was telling her, like, I didn't even want to leave the building. I just wanted to go straight to the desk. But they so I had to make a decision, which was like take this other job or choose Yelp, and I already like it was already set.
Oh my
Like,
God.
the moment they offered me, I'm
Mo,
taking
I
this
feel
one.
like this is the perfect soundbite. So like if you guys need like recruitment or like hiring, like we'll give this soundbite over to your marketing. But I have the utmost respect
Okay.
for our Yelp colleagues. It's so funny, like even just your punctuality.
I guess we're not doing the soundbite anymore. I'm just so I guess we're
Oh
not doing
yes,
the
yeah,
soundbite
yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
But I did want to say, like, even y'all's punctuality, like every meeting I am on with Yelp, you guys are always the first people on the conference meeting. I'm always impressed because, as kind of a habitual late person, meaning no disrespect, of course, but like I just sometimes can't get myself together to like join the next meeting on time. But you guys are always on time, and then sometimes that just speaks volumes too. Not just about your punctuality, but you guys are great.
I can give you,
Yeah.
I can give you our secret.
Yes, I want to hear your
I can
secret.
give you our secret. I don't know that they review this and then they cut this off. But one thing is, like, whenever we schedule meetings, let's say if it's an hour meeting, they put this in the schedule. Like every single time is automatic, but it gives like 5 minutes. Like it's pretty much like 55 minutes instead of an hour.
Oh.
And if it's 30 minutes, it's 25 minutes instead of like
Oh.
30 minutes. So don't worry, like
Well,
we
no.
are busy. We just
Yeah.
end our meeting.
Yes.
We just try to end our meeting like 5 minutes before, just to
Mo,
give
I
enough
feel
time to
like if
jump
this
into
is
the
the
next meeting.
one thing, which it's not, but if this is the one thing I take away from our interview, it's to my entire scheduling habits will be changed. I love it. I love it.
You know, the professor, I can't claim this. This is definitely like a Yelp thing,
Oh, well,
but I wish I
I
could claim
mean, hopefully.
that. I should have claimed it. I should have just claimed it. We can do this today, and I'll just say like, hey, like something that I do.
Well, I'm gonna,
But no,
hey, if it's a Yelp best practice, and I've actually noticed it. It's something that I can definitely incorporate. I'm going to tell my team about this after our interview for sure. Mo, I think like a couple of things that you had said, which I thought were really fascinating. You are a man that's not afraid to make mistakes, which I think is great. I think with a lot of times if you're like a recent college student, and I know I was in that boat, I was very hesitant to like in the corporate space, like in the agency space, like being like, well, I don't really know, so I'm just gonna like shut up and listen. But I admire you for being like, I'm just gonna make as many mistakes as possible so I can learn.
No, I appreciate that a lot. And then like for me, that definitely comes from just like my upbringing, and like I was raised by like all women, so I was like my sisters, my brothers dabbled in there too before they beat me up. Mostly I
Yeah.
was raised by my sisters, and I think one of the biggest thing, like they were very, and my mom like very encouraging in terms of just like trying something, because I think one of the biggest things I was always told growing up was if you look back in life, when have you like if you tried, when have you actually failed? Like for example, there have been tests that I failed in school, but
Yeah.
I still passed the class. So like if there's ever like something like for me, I welcome like controversy, and then it's just like my outlook on it. So for example, if something bad happens, I'm just like, okay, like it happened, I can't change it, but what I can do is control like what I do next. Like, I'll learn from it.
Yeah, you learn from it and then you start implementing it. And it sounds like you don't have any remorse either. Like you don't feel sorry for making that mistake. It's more of like, okay, I failed. Like we're talking about testing, but like I failed the test. This is obviously a learning experience for me. I'm going to do better, right? And you can only learn from those mistakes. If you did everything perfect, you'd never learn. I always love this quote, and I can hear Mike Gallitos laughing at me in the background. But I love this quote from Brene Brown, and I think it's from her. But she always says, embrace like the FFT, which is, and it's kind of a derogatory term, but it's freaking first time. So just know when you try something for the first time, you're going to suck at it. Like, don't go in and think like, I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to be awesome. And this can be said for like running a Yelp campaign as a first time business owner, right? Of like, well, I've never done marketing before in my life. Working with an agency and Yelp, working with an agency like DSG and working with Yelp simultaneously is automatically going to give you a leg up, right? Because they're going to understand the platform. But it's always good for I think business owners to at least try and put aside some budget for some marketing, even if they've never tried it before. Because the best thing that can happen is that they learn from some of the mistakes that they've made, and then they can also implement those learnings into a brand new campaign, hopefully on the Yelp platform.
It's always interesting, like for me, because like growing up in Harlem, it's funny like to see like the some of the business that like end up being successful and some of the business that like wind up not being successful. And I think and then for me, like there's times where I've traveled back to cities where I've been. Like when I was in Boston, I came back. I went back to Cambridge, and then, for example, there was this burger spot that I thought was amazing, and like one of the things I was like, why did it close? And then like there's nothing there, and then now there's like a flower shop like down the block, or there's like all these things. And then like all at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is like with business owners, it's very important for you to like market yourself, put yourself out there, and allow people to see you so you can get chosen. I think like one of the topics that we talked about before, where being chosen is the work that you put in your product, but being seen is just as important as being chosen, and that's like the marketing aspect. And one of the things that I would like to say, for example, if you're a business owner, if you were ever thinking about giving a discount, instead of giving a discount, just say, okay, I was going to give like 50% off coffee for like the next month, right? And then if you calculate, that ends up being like $500 or $1,000. Instead of doing that, take that and put it into like marketing materials, or just like ways to just be able to be found by customers. And then let that be, because I know oftentimes business owners, like they know their business the best, and
Of course.
no one's saying that you don't. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that someone else probably knows marketing way better than you. And I think part of being a marketing agency is being able to understand every platform that can possibly help your client. And I think, like, especially like working with DSG, one of the biggest things when we first started was it wasn't even about launching campaigns, but it was more about educating like everyone on your team in terms of just like the power of Yelp.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's where we started, to the point where like I'll get messages from like people, oh, did you see this? I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like I had to go back to my team to like learn it myself and come back where
Yes.
like it's something I greatly appreciated on this end.
Yes. And I think too, Mo, what we often say to newer customers as well, especially SMBs, is we want them to worry about their business. Like if you are a salon, you have so many other things to worry about. If you own a restaurant, you have so many other things to worry about. Like to the point of like thinking about recipes or styling. We don't want staffing. Oh gosh, yeah, staffing, which is a big problem these days. But on our side, I always like to tell our customers, like, let us worry about the marketing. You're in great hands. And hey, if you're first working with us and we're building that relationship, we're building that trust, like, know you're going to get reporting, know you're going to get transparency. And that's like, and you're also going to get, of course, the knowledge. And I thank you for that, Mo. Like we obviously, when we first started, it was all about the education. And that's so important to understand what each channel does for a small to medium-sized business owner in their marketing. But I always like to say, like, let us take this off of your plate so you can worry about the most important aspects of your business. So Mo, I totally appreciate your time. Thank you so, so much. I do have one last question for you. And bear with me on this. This is kind of the first of its kind, first conversation of its kind. But so what is one thing that you do to set yourself up for a successful day?
That's a great question. And I love that question because if it was like a year ago, I'll say start my day off with running. But it's actually changed like within the past couple of months. And like one of my friends have really gotten me into like meditating and writing. So something that I've been doing for like the past couple of months, and I feel like it actually amplifies me wanting to run even more, wanting to work even harder, wanting to do more, is that every day I write 3 things I'm grateful for. And it starts, and then sometimes it might start even with actual message in the beginning where it talks about, like reasons why I work hard, or like love, emotions, just like things that drive me. Just understanding like what moments mean and being able to be like present now and appreciate the now, opposed to just like always just looking far off in the future. And it's helped me a lot in terms of just like get ready for my day, to the point where like I'll actually send it to some of my friends, and sometimes like they've actually reached out and told me like it's actually helped them a lot. And like it it's it's like a great practice that I love doing, and it really like motivates me, like because when I'm done and I send it out, I usually wake up early in the morning, like I feel like I can do anything that day.
Yeah, that's Mo, that's so awesome. And thank you for being so like vulnerable and describing that. Um, I It's so funny that you say, like, I was a big runner too, really before I had my first daughter. And that was very cathartic for me. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, okay, I don't really have time to go for those long, like, not necessarily arduous, although like in 100-degree heat in Pennsylvania, it can be. But I really loved like being outside and like it cleared my head. But sometimes when you don't have that time, just writing your thoughts down and meditating, oh man, like I've tried meditating. I'm really trying to get good patience with it, and props for you for making that a regular practice. I did hear online, and I want to make sure I credit the right person. I think it was one of my like old sorority sisters who's now a coach. Her name is Katie McKenna. And I think she has a married name now. But she had said, on top of writing things that you're grateful for, you should also write things that you've accomplished. And then also something that is really hard. And I kind of started this practice, and I actually haven't talked to her about it, but I've started this practice, and that I think writing the thing that's hard has made me kind of live a little bit more mindfully of like, yeah, this is really hard. It's really hard, like having from my perspective, having a 1.5-year-old at home and being a working parent, I'm sure like for you, it could be, you're traveling and you're keeping a certain schedule, like that can be really hard. And sometimes recognizing that makes the things that you're grateful for even more highlighted throughout the day. But anyway, that was just something, kind of to jump off where you are that has helped me.
I was literally about to ask you the same question, but it's a good thing you answered. But yeah, like what do you do that helps you become, just like just to switch the question.
Well, Mo, thank you. I did not have that intention, but I appreciate you turning the tables. You're doing a little lazy Susan on me.
Pop quiz.
I know. I feel like it. So I think definitely journaling. I think that that's really, really important. But also not putting a lot of pressure on myself to like write a novel. I think for me, it's just writing down what I've accomplished, what I'm grateful for, and then that one hard thing. And I have to say, like, I haven't done it every day. And that's also just giving yourself grace, especially in this kind of crazy time after the pandemic and things are starting up and being busy again. And then we're trying, obviously, to grow the DSG business. But I think that really puts things in perspective. And to your point, like the most important thing I think for a lot of people right now is just to be mindful of just being like, we're in the present, enjoy the present as much as you can with the things that are given to you. So, so we're on the same page.
We're going to cry after.
I know. All right. Well, we'll save the tears maybe for another session. Well, Mo, thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure speaking with you. I'm sure if anybody in our audience has any questions or anything like that, we'll obviously put my info and we'll connect about Yelp, connect maybe even about journaling. I want to talk about at least your favorite restaurant in Miami. I did have that one last question. Can you say that? No, you can't. You're a Yelp person.
But the thing is, what you can, I probably can't, but I probably can. But everyone that knows me knows that this one place, they pretty much call it my second home.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but it's in Brickell. I can give that much.
Okay.
But it's like my favorite place to go. Love it. So
okay. All right. We won't put pressure on you to name it, but if you know Mo, you know his favorite place in Miami. We'll just leave it at that.
I can say it, but I'll say it. But then if it gets cut out, that's fine. But my favorite place, it's like two places. My favorite place to go is Moxie's in Brickell.
Ooh, nice.
Love it. You can find me there every day. It's like great energy, like very nice staff. My favorite place to just like eat, like in terms of dinner, is Doma. But those are like the two places, and then yeah.
Oh, nice,
but
nice.
I go to Moxie's way too often, like, to the point where like my friends call it Moxie's. So.
That's going to be your new nickname with DSG, obviously. Yes.
Oh no.
Yes. So if I ever move from Pennsylvania to Miami, which Mo has done from New York to Miami, I will know what restaurants to go to. So with that, Mo, thank you so much. We will talk soon. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.